Hello, welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff. You're here today with Brandon and John and maybe Carlos. He's in Miami having some internet problems, but he'll try to join if he can. But follow us on YouTube. That's where you're going to see these live shows on Fridays, and then be able to connect with us there, as well as our Instagram. You go to links.letstalkrealestate.tv. But yeah. Let's get into it. You're not in your usual location there, Papa P. Traveling
I'm
the
not. I'm not wearing my usual black T-shirt. I'm not doing anything usual. We traversed the East Coast from Florida, went to Georgia, stopped at a mobile home park we're under contract in, um, and drove all the way up to PA. It
How
was
long
such.
is Georgia to PA?
So we definitely went 100 miles out of our way to go the route of the mobile home park so the
Okay.
family could see what we're buying. It was not necessarily in, it was on the way. I mean, we were going north, but I went 98 miles out of my direction to show them that and to stop at Buc-ee's.
Oh my
So
gosh, Buc-ee's.
that was well worth it.
Can't
You
you
know,
do that
John,
going up the coast? I mean, I
you
guess.
can, it's the timing of it. Those Buc-ee's are not far enough into the trip.
Okay.
This
Yeah.
Bucky's was perfect. 11 o'clock or 10:30, we were there. They were serving lunch. Got us some brisket sandwiches. Filled up
Mhm.
on gas. Hung out. Walked the dogs. But so this RV thing. So I find it interesting bringing it back to real estate because we just bought and closed on successfully our second park. Uh,
Nice. Congrats.
68 units, 52 mobile, 16 RV. Up until this trip, I have known nothing about RVs.
Hmm.
Uh, Nothing at all. Never been in one, never hooked up at one, but I bought myself a park. So we stayed in an RV park in North Carolina up in the mountains off of Lake Norman. Mountains, whatever, the whole state's mountains.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
and hooking up, like I really saw, it was only one night, but I really see like what makes a nice site. Like you're looking at them, I'm hooking into this stuff, got to
Oh, so
hook
you
in.
didn't stay at your park. You kept going? Like you just
We
dropped
did
in
not.
for
We
us?
did not go to Arkansas. No,
Okay.
we did not stay in Georgia. We kept going to North Carolina.
Okay.
Stopped there and stayed at a park to camp. And you had to hook up the water, the
Hmm.
electric. It's just a matter of like you really start to think in an RV park, and that's what I was thinking for ours is like how the sites look, how clean they are, lined up, gravel. Like it was very nice
Hmm.
when I pulled in, and like our RV park has shitty roads, and like I could see why that RV park that we bought is underperforming is because like I wouldn't take this art like the RV feels everything.
Hmm.
Like I'm sure we rented this RV for the total was like 50 some $100 for 14 days, unlimited everything. But I'm sure this guy who does it as a business did not buy the top of the line model. He just has like a bunch of them lined up in a parking lot and he's like, pick one. He retired. It's kind of like Turo. He's doing it Turo style.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he quit his job just to rent RVs out during COVID and he kept doing it. So I'm sure
Interesting.
we don't have the top of the line
Yeah, yeah.
RV or anything, John, but I wouldn't drive this RV in our RV park. Like, and that really got me thinking, like, if I wouldn't do it, and like you like think about it, you're worrying about your tires, you're worrying about like what these roads are doing to your vehicle. Why am I gonna stay at this shitty RV park and off the highway in Arkansas when I could go to maybe a better one down the road? Or if
Right.
you do it once, you never do it again. Like I left that RV park saying to myself, on the way back, I'm gonna stay there. And
Hmm.
that's what I want people to say about ours. And so me and Brittany were talking and we were like, this is something that we should really do. Like I see the RV lifestyle. I mean, I've only done it for a couple of days, but like when
Not
you're
bad, right?
driving, when you're driving that long,
Hmm.
unstopping because you have everything you need so the kids don't have to stop for the bathroom, I did a lot of thinking. And
Hmm.
I was like, man,
Oh,
like
you
this
did
RV,
the bathrooms in movement as well?
yeah, we had the water pump going. We got unlimited generator miles, so we could run the generator while driving to get the water pump going. Um, I think you could run the water pump anyway, but the guy didn't really give me the best of directions on this thing. I'm kind of winging it. But right now we have a problem. To step aside, we can talk about the RV park that I bought if you want, but um, right now this dude did not really give us instructions, nor
The
knows
RV
what
dude.
the RV dude.
Mm-hmm.
below freezing up here. Lines will freeze. I'm
Oh.
plugged into a campsite. So now my responsibility is to make sure his lines don't burst while I'm parked at our house up here.
Mm-hmm.
So I now am trying to find a 30 amp to 110 converter with an extended
Oh no. So
plug-in,
that you could run the heater inside.
run the heater inside and drip the water so
Mm-hmm.
that way it doesn't fucking freeze and burst and then I'm
Did
getting
he not ask where
charged.
you were going?
He did, and he didn't know what to do. And he's like, well, just empty the tanks. And I'm like, so you want me to just empty the tanks and that's it? And then what, fill them back up every time? I mean, how do I know there's not going to still be water in the lines? He's like, yeah, I don't really know what to do. And I was like, well, in our mobile homes, so what we do in our mobile homes, because they're generally the same, but we have skirting, is if you have skirting underneath, it helps with the insulation, but the
Mm-hmm.
pipes are exposed. So we have to text everybody in the parks you have a group text, and you're like, leave your water dripping tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do that last year, and we had to spend $3,500 to repipe a mobile because we fucked up and a vacant mobile pipes burst. There's no heat on the inside, nothing's keeping the pipes warm. We had to repipe the entire mobile. It was a lesson learned on because in Florida we don't worry about that. I bought a mobile home park in the first northern state I could find, not understanding about freezing weather.
Uh,
Blew out the water heater, everything. I mean, everything
oh,
just
geez.
froze and expanded. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the water dripping um, and plug it in and keep the heat on overnight. If it doesn't come in time, I'll use a generator. But just things to think about with the RV lifestyle. Buying a mobile home park too, you definitely want to keep your pipes dripping in the cold.
So what did your family think of the new Papa P
It's
purchase?
they like the park.
Mm-hmm.
It's a piece of shit, but they see the potential.
Have they seen your other park?
No one's
No.
seen it.
Okay.
No one's been to it but me. We don't have enough time on this trip, but that's what we're gonna do. So probably after Christmas, maybe February or so, we're gonna rent a better RV,
Try them out.
bigger,
Mm-hmm.
with bunk beds this time. If you have kids, get the bunk bed options.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a fucking tent. Yeah, it sleeps six, but that's if bodies are laying on top of bodies.
And you gotta like change all the couches and
I slept on the floor. I rolled out my sleeping bag in the aisle and I just slept there on top of my sleeping bag. I was like, fuck this, dude. Um,
that's
but
hilarious.
bunk beds for sure. So that's what we're gonna do, and that's the lifestyle I'm talking about, John. Is like it's pretty cool. You can pack the kids in.
Mm-hmm.
We'll drive out to Arkansas, stay there while especially if when we redo the roads. That's probably when we'll coordinate it so we can be there while the roads are getting done and make sure the asphalt gets laid properly. Um, Something like that. So
Just like
I
you
dig
just need
this
to
lifestyle.
install an RV hookup at every one of your parks so you can just keep driving around to them.
Well, yes, but I also kind of now am looking at parks that have an RV side to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
We really like it. So this one that has like 16 RV spots, it's like, why can't we find more like that?
Mm-hmm. I'm
And
sure there. I
RV,
mean, people like some people will come and do longer term stays, right? Especially if they're like, okay, I'm an RVer. I can't get long term stays at like a KOA or whatever it is, because those are like about people continually
yeah.
moving. But if it's like, hey, I want to find a place that I can stay for a month, that's some good little side
That
business.
and that's kind of what ours is. It's long term construction, guys. And so there's this whole lifestyle to RVing that I don't think people understand. That I've realized as I've started calling on park owners, a lot of guys are switching their parks pads over to RVs. One, flooding is an issue for mobile homes, but not so much for RVs because you can move them out. So if
Yeah.
your property's in a flood zone, you have better luck of getting it zoned to add pads for an RV spot. So like I talked to one guy, they rezoned the flood zones or whatever, and he lost mobile home pads, but he could convert them to RV pads. So that's something. But you get more on
You feel like people are more likely to purchase, well, I don't know, like I guess RV purchases in general are just increasing over like a mobile home that somebody would be like, oh, I could move this. Most people don't
Listen,
consider I could move a mobile home when they purchase it, right?
no, exactly. And listen to this, dude. Like, so I was talking to somebody. They got a kid who's moving to Tampa, and this is the lifestyle I'm talking about. Need to live in town Tampa for their job, like in not Tampa's proper city, but like the inner metro of Tampa. Apartments are like 2 G's.
Mm-hmm.
Starting out, I don't know what she's making, 36, 40K. Looking at trying to get roommates, doesn't know who to get a roommate with, and it's like, what, travel in? So right now they're traveling in from like Polk County into Tampa.
Every
And so
day. Good
every day,
God.
bro. I used to travel from Clearwater into Polk County when I first moved here. I lived in Clearwater and I drove into Polk every day to work. But how about this? You get an RV park in town on a monthly stay for $600. You then buy an RV, which honestly are nicer than most apartments. I mean, they're big. You could get a massive RV, drop it in your spot, and pay $600 a month for the pad with utilities included. If it's long-term stay, they might bill you back, and then your payment on an RV is probably like another $600 to $700 a month. You're all in on this fucking thing for like 1,500. You have a great location in town, and if you want to, you pick it up and effing move it, and you could park a car there. You have a little mini yard area. You have probably community amenities if it's long term, midterm stay. And so I see this as a lifestyle for people. And like even at this campground, people were set up that we were only nightly stay, but there's people who had like their whole little site decked
Oh
out
yeah.
with
Oh yeah, it's crazy,
decorations,
right?
tables, like they are permanently, one had skirting, they are permanently living there and they have this option to move. That's the lifestyle that I see that I wrote for like our business plan for our company. When I send it out to investors, that's how I explain it to them. It's like, this
Mm-hmm.
is the lifestyle that we're trying to capitalize on. Mobile home parks is one of them, but the transient aspect of the park itself is the way I think the world is going right now. So think
Yeah.
about that, John. How much did you pay in rent when you were 19, 20 years old?
It was a different time. But $900 I think it was.
Me too.
Uh um
Yeah. I was outside
I
of
think if
DC.
I looked at that property today, it'd be about
But income
15.
hasn't income wage increases haven't gone up as much as rent increases.
Oh
And
no.
I don't have that stat off the top of my head, but I did look it up the other day and I was shocked because I was looking up the increases in rent to see how often rent doubles.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up backing into an article about rent versus wage increases. When rent increases have far outpaced wage increases. So what is somebody who gets a job to do? I
Mm-hmm.
wish more young people knew about RVs because think about it. It is a great lifestyle for a 22-year-old
Oh yeah.
boy, girl, whatever. I don't have anyone to impress. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have family, I don't have kids. Maybe I got a dog, if that.
Right.
But like, why do I need a house or a big car, a big apartment?
Or not even a big apartment, just an apartment that costs a shit ton of money and I'm slave to. Yeah. No,
I
I
mean,
haven't thought about it as for the younger side of people and like
yeah, no
that's
one
pretty
does. They only
intriguing.
think about it for the elderly generation. So I see this huge over the next 10 years. I think, yeah, the economy is going to suffer a bit. I think prices are going to come down. I don't see wages picking up to rent and house prices anytime soon. So it just doesn't make sense for businesses to do that. Like anytime costs decrease, they don't decrease prices. They just keep
Right.
the price. They profit more.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's the same thing. I'm not lowering my rent in my parks.
Mm-hmm.
Only time I lower rent is if I can't move a unit. I drop it $50, $100, boom, and then I jack the rent up on them next year, but they're already in there.
Yeah.
So it's like I see this as a play.
Yeah. It's intriguing. We kind of before we gathered a zoo, we thought about like downsizing. It was do you remember like the tiny house movement? I don't know
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of RV parks that do that.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
park them on
So
their pad. Yeah.
yeah, there's a channel on Samsung TV of the Tiny House Nation, which is just
Yeah.
like reruns of that show about all that. But and we almost did that. Like that's something we were considering, and then we did actually run into an RV family, and like that is more of a thing. Like homeschoolers, like
Yeah.
RVers, they
I
go just
follow
run
a
like
couple on Instagram.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a thing. So we actually met a family, and
They explained it to you?
in Orlando, yeah, we went and saw their RV, and it's like they were putting in the reverse osmosis filters, just like how they figured out their lifestyle. Inside this, they had a dog. I think they had a gerbil as well. Like very cool, and they would just travel, right? And they'd always come back to Florida for winter, so we'd see them. They actually though they got rid of the RV, and they now live 9 minutes from us, which is kind of funny here in Gainesville.
Yeah.
That
There's
we
a
all
point where it doesn't make sense, right? Like where you do
Yes,
want to
and
set.
that's the thing is like what we've realized is we would love an RV as well, but like for a permanent kind of like all the time, I don't think that that would be doable. But like it would be great to go travel and do long-term stays because like even if like you're like you go on vacation and you're like this place is so cool, but I can't afford an Airbnb for a month here, and that's how long I feel like I should be here to really get to know the
Not
space.
just
So
that, it's like you got to pack everything, bring everything, and it's
yeah,
like this RV, and you got to fly there maybe. So
yeah.
like this RVing is different. I don't know, John. I see it not just as a vacation thing. I see it as a permanent living.
I
Uh,
wonder, is there anything about RV sales? Have you looked that up, or like just RV sales continuing to increase? I know they had a boost during COVID.
I know they did too. I don't know about new sales numbers, but it's like, and let's just be clear, the quality is like the one that I rented. The quality is horrible. It's like everything shakes, rattles, and rolls, and it's like I'd be very interested in getting a more expensive one next time, bigger, and really like getting a feel for the different products out there, maybe going to an RV show. But I think it just helps with my mobile home park and RV park. So like I'm getting a better understanding of what people need. Ain't nothing like trying to hook up your waste tank to your sewer when it's
Yeah.
freezing cold outside and you're like, oh my god. I was like, fuck,
Hmm.
this is nasty.
That's why our RV friends always came back to Florida through the
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, so RV sales, I just quick Google search, like 600,000 in 2021, which is like COVID. That was the largest year for RVs ever. They have decreased in the last 2 years, but um, I definitely see people like wanting that lifestyle more and more, especially with prices like you're saying for homes, rent, and everything like that. It's just too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, so if you look at the RV rent in my market, right, where I bought my park is $600 a month. Or it could be you can be upwards of
So
like
you're saying just to park the RV, utilities included with sewage at the spot, $600.
$600 a month. But my mobile home lot is roughly 350
Interesting that it's that different. Are you saying
because
that's what you will charge? It's like
well,
350,
that's just the market rates.
the
Like,
market rate.
and
Okay.
that, yeah, so yes, that is what I will charge. But right now, they're wildly different. Right now, when I bought it, they're at 175 for mobile home lots and like $16 a day for mobile homes or for RVs when they should be like $40 a day and 350 or a discount on the RV for staying for the full month. So basically your nightly rate is high, your weekly rate is lower, your monthly rate is lower to entice
Mhm.
people to pay up because you pay up front for the RV.
Okay.
Otherwise people just leave and not fucking pay you.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
so
Interesting. Is that rate when you're looking at like RV parks that have like a lot of amenities? Do you feel like you can get that price at your park?
that's a park with no amenities. So I called
Okay.
a couple of the parks in Pine Bluff and very similar. Now there was one mom and pop who basically is like the mom and pop one I bought where like but fuck they're basically free. Like you just go I'm like, how much your mobile home lot? It's like $125. I'm like
I'll be
I was
calling
I
you
was
shortly
yeah,
to see if you
I
would like to sell your park.
exactly. I was pretending I couldn't say it because I was pretending to be a renter. So when you call, you don't say, "Hey, I'm buying the other park." I did that the
Hmm.
first time, and the guy started talking to me. He was like, "What do you
Hmm.
want to know?" I go, "Well, I'm buying a park down the road for." He fucking hung up on me. But everybody else I talked to, I pretended I was a renter inquiring, and they
Yeah.
talked to me for as long as I wanted. They told me I
Interesting.
got so much information out of some of these guys. Well, like what size is it? Like how new is it? Like what how many people you got in there? What are your amenities? What do I get if I stay there? And they'll answer all of it. So
Interesting.
the
Well,
more
good
amenities you
job for
have,
doing
the
your
better.
research.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very intriguing. Fun stuff. Well, you're up in wherever you are in the United States for a little while. So are you sleeping in the RV when it's parked outside the
No,
house? You
no,
just
but
got it for transportation around.
for the transportation, if you do the price on tickets,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to move 6 people from Florida to PA met with a baby that's 6 months old, a 2 year old, 17, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
teenager and whatever you call the middle. I don't know what the name is for the middle one. When you're
Preteen.
9, what is that? Adolescent.
Yeah.
But bro, try flying. I mean, maybe you have, but I'm not trying to get on an airplane with that many kids. So yeah, if we get
No.
the
I
BRP
still
just
have
to
yet
try.
to cross that bridge, and it scares me to try and do that with my
Oh yeah, dude.
family.
So we drove up, packed up the RV. We didn't need to stop for food, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids were making sandwiches and stuff in the RV, and we drove all the way up, parked out there. I mean, my family house up here, like the house I grew up in, my mom kept it. She lives in Florida, but we
Yeah.
have this house up here that she just kept. So we come up here, and it's a pretty big house.
Very fun. Well, hope you guys all enjoy your time in PA. You staying through Thanksgiving?
Yeah, bro. Come back. So we got college tours this week, and then coming back next week after Thanksgiving.
Nice. Very fun.
So I guess
Very cool.
Carlos isn't logging on. So what's our next topics here? What are we going
All
into?
right. So I have a question to propose. And
Yeah,
this
let's
is
do
just
it.
like an interesting rummation in my brain from this week. So you use AI a lot, right? And so you're using mostly Chat GPT, right? Like you just have to open a tab
Yeah,
whenever
it does all
you
my stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I saw some feedback this week from a customer about AI, and they're saying, hey, it looks like they're basically not happy with the direction of our AI features. They're saying, that their thought process was that they can do all of this inside of Chat GPT. So why would they pay over here inside the product, the InvestorFuse product, to have AI in the
What is
product
it?
when they can just do it over there? And so like it was kind of strange, and it basically, what it struck me as is like a very tech adopter person, right? Like I'm just like I've been using AI for a year. Like I know that what you're charging me for over here, I can get for free inside Chat GPT
What is
myself.
it? What is it that they're trying to do?
It's rewriting text.
Hmm.
So that's the basic function so far. But we like, and it's interesting, right? And it's just like OpenAI's pricing model. Like you could have a free account and do the same thing for free, but a business gets charged for it, and therefore has to pass that cost on to the customer, right? And so it's an intriguing idea. But my question to you is like, if we continue to look at AI developing, and more apps will have AI inside the app itself, and some of them, probably most of them, will charge for that. Do you feel like that sentiment of why are you charging this over here, but I can get it free over here, will be widespread, or most people just won't realize it or care? They're just like, I'm happy that I don't have to leave this app. It's all tied in. The experience is the same, and I get AI functionality.
I mean, water is free, but I still pay Avion to bottle it for me. But if you go to a guy who lives next to a spring and is a bushmaster and knows how to bottle and purify his own water, yeah, he's going to go to the bottling company. I live by a spring. Why am I going to pay you for the same water that I can get? There is a very unique subset of a demographic that becomes not your customer, but the entire world of business is built on free things or cheaper things being repackaged and
Mm-hmm.
charged higher to a consumer for laziness. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
once told me that if you could find a way to make somebody be even lazier, you will become a rich person. And he said, majority of products are made upon people having laziness or being
Mm-hmm.
lazy. Think about it. Hamburger Helper, mac and cheese. Not like you can't make it yourself. You buy the prepackaged version. Chopped up pineapple instead of real,
A
regular
regular pineapple.
pineapple.
Yeah.
And the list goes on, dude. Um, so I don't think I would worry about it. I think
I
people
wasn't
also.
worried about it. Like in my mind, like, oh, this is an early tech adopter. And like we had the same problems when we introduced, the first InvestView system on Podio. People were like, well, I already built my own. Like, why would I pay for yours?
If you
Kind of
made
deal.
my life easier, and I don't know, I mean, what are you charging for? Is it just part of the plan?
We haven't started charging for it yet. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I don't know if I need to like say like make it a whole new add-on and it's like pay another $15 a month and you get
I
all the
wouldn't do
AI
that then.
features. Or
I
I
mean,
include
again,
it in the base plan.
yeah, if it was included in my plan, I'm like, cool, but you make my life easier and I don't have to go to ChatGPT or have my VAs go to ChatGPT and it just does it automatically for me, then that makes my life easier. And if I feel like that cost is representative of how easy my life is, I will pay it.
Hmm.
Um, and then I'll also look at what it's going to be too.
Right. Because
So if
I
you're
think there's like things that you don't realize AI can do that when you build it internally inside of an application where data is shared, it's a lot more powerful. But go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think people also have a huge misunderstanding of what AI is. But I mean, we're just talking about automations here. Just like until you get real machine learning in, uh, it's not AI. It's just automation.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So I don't know if you heard any of the AI stuff. So OpenAI held its first like
Yeah,
conference thing, like all other big tech companies do about what they're releasing. There's some interesting stuff coming out of like where you can actually start to input some things. Like you can create your own chatbots, and they're going to like pay creators for like basically building their own models, which is like what I'm excited for. Like I see limitations because most people don't understand like when a business installs OpenAI into their product, like it's all like it's just you're just doing what users do in Chat GPT, but in the background, right? So like I
yeah.
have to send a
Different,
giant
different,
thing of text to
different UI.
OpenAI.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then it comes back, and then I parse out what I need, and then I give that to you in a different experience. But I always have to send the information to ChatGPT. So what the interesting concept is like when you can pre-create a model, and that model has pre-information installed. And like we're getting back to AI at InvestorFuse in December, so I have to look at this because I chatted with a buddy of mine, and he's like, "Yeah, the Facebook AI already lets you do this." So I need to go look at that. I think it's called Llama, something Llama. Anyways, where you can just, hey, like here's all this stuff, and it provides context to every response that comes out of the AI. So, but OpenAI is doing some interesting things with what they've got coming out. I think some of it starts pretty soon. So,
I mean, I think AI is an interesting concept. I just don't think for a lot of this stuff we really have it. I mean, some of that stuff coming out, like the callers and everything, that becomes very interesting. The virtual AI callers, because they really had to learn. Like there was a lot of training, your AI model training on speech patterns and tonality. I really dig stuff like that.
mhm.
But like the automation side of stuff, I mean, yes, it makes my life easy. Yes, I use Chat GPT to write my ads. I mean, I used it to create my logos, my slogans, my
Mhm.
brand, like everything versus me sitting there coming up with it myself. So it does provide easy, but I also understand that the company that I go to is simply bouncing off of Chat GPT itself and
Right.
one of the ones Picasso or one of those virtual art
Dolly.
AIs.
Dolly,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dolly. And they're putting multiple AI models together to give me a user experience. So
Yeah.
yeah, I could go to those on my own and
Hmm.
set it up, but that's not. Maybe younger Brandon would do that, but I'm
Right.
trying to run a business that's not an AI
Speed.
business.
Yeah.
And I'd rather pay you to do that for me than to try to be. I mean, again, younger Brandon would have said, I could just do this myself over here. Let me get an account and do it. And I would have done it. It would have
Hmm.
taken me longer. It probably wouldn't have come out as good. And I probably wouldn't have finished it. It would have been half assed.
Oh man.
But I also like this whole AI thing. Like, I agree, but I also think there's a place in this business for people who don't use AI. I think the more and more things go to AI, even the caller thing, I get it. 100% respect that company for what they're doing, and I might even use it. But you put that caller up against me on the
Right.
phone, I'm gonna
Never
win.
gonna work. Yeah.
Now again, I mean, what's that chess model that beat the grandmaster? Like
Oh
there's,
yeah.
I mean, it gets good enough, but once it gets good enough, will that cost become capable enough or low enough to make it mass market potential? That's the real
Eventually.
question. Eventually,
Vengeance eventually. That's the
and
thing,
then
right? Like all of this, like you just look at technology's history, right? Everything.
when that happens,
Hmm.
the market becomes our market of buying properties becomes really a big company play where a lot of these big wholesalers now they have the money to get these AI models. They do it. They can smoke you because they have the technological advantage over you. Um, and when that happens, I just hope I'm not in the industry. I don't want to be. That's not my company. I don't want to
Right.
be a wholesaler for life. I want to get out of the transaction stuff. So as I
Yeah.
think most people should,
Agreed.
let somebody else play with that shit. You know, somebody made a post the other day, and he said, and this was the wisest thing that I had heard, and I had heard it before from different people. But he put it together, and he said, "Somebody who's making 100 million plus a year, one of my mentors told me this, and he wrote down three things, and it was subscription based. I'm trying to remember it. Subscription based models. A subscription based model company is the fastest way to scale a company and to make real money. Selling business to business versus business to consumer is how real companies make real money or something like that. Is how you get up to like the 100 million plus companies.
Hmm.
And there was a third one that I cannot remember, but the first two are the one that I responded to him, and I'm like, bro, it took me over a decade of business experience to figure that out,
Yeah.
which is why I started the software company, and one of them you and I are doing with the database and stuff. But it's like it's 100%, 100% why I did it, because I realized business to consumer is the
Oh
worst
yeah.
business to be in. And I agree. And if anyone wants to argue with me, it's because you're probably just addicted to the business you're in and you like the grind. But
Hmm.
there's always going to be one or two companies who make $100 million doing business to consumer, and you can name the companies.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, they're out there. You're going to have the giants, but consumers always have a problem spending money.
Hmm.
Businesses love to spend money because for a business they see I get spend $1, I get $10. A
Hmm.
consumer sees I spend $1, I get a soda or I get this, and well, okay, that's still I'm spending my money.
I think I heard like I saw some kind of quote from a Shark Tank person. I don't know, remember which one it was, but he's like out over the 5 years that I've been doing Shark Tank and all the things that I've invested in, which the majority of those are B2C, right? I've broken even. Like
Yeah,
some have done really well, some have not done well, and it's like it's interesting, right? Like these are the people that like supposed to know business really well, make good choices, and
yeah.
their investments have broken even
It's
on
the
Shark
business
Tank.
to consumer. And again,
Right.
you
So
have
it's
the ones that
B2C.
hit, but you have to look at your goal. And so the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is we kind of went down that AI thing, and we're just talking about different ways to help our B2C business make money, but no matter what, it's a transaction business.
Mhm.
So rule number one that the guy said, and he was like a B2 or a subscription based model. And it's why when you look at these YouTubers who are selling stuff, right? 9.99 or shit, even look at OnlyFans girls, right? What everyone hates them, but they figured it out. If I get 15,000 guys across the world paying me
Mhm.
$3.99 a month or $9.99 a month, I'm rich.
Mhm.
And if you have a low subscription cost, a lot of people just pay it without even thinking about it.
Right. And then
How
it's
how
yeah.
often do you think of your 199 Apple Cloud storage cost?
Mine's
Never.
not 1,999. I think my
Never.
cheapest subscription is my Ring doorbell. That's like
Yeah.
299 a month or something like that.
But
So that you
you
could go
get
back
this
and look at the
idea.
videos. Yeah.
You get this idea though, right? And it's like
Why would I
49.99.
cancel that? It's so
Why would
cheap.
I cancel that? And so when you said that, and that's what you got to think of. So it's like that's recurring revenue that
Mhm.
never cancels. Maybe once a year you have a
Mhm.
churn rate, but then you account for that churn rate with new oncoming
Yeah.
customers. So it just becomes a marketing game where it's not a grind because you're not always replacing every customer every year. When you're in wholesaling or sales, it's 100% churn every
Mhm.
single month, or maybe a week, but every month, every year, 100% churn. You're only as good as your last deal. And
Yep.
then the next month you have to start over.
Mhm.
And that was something it took me forever to wrap my head around. And then when he said that the B2B versus B2C, and I was like, yeah, man, like that's because you could fight tooth and nail. Like the easiest sales are to the people with money.
Right.
The hardest
And that
sales,
see value in, like, because you sell to a consumer, it's not like, oh, that they're gonna like you said it earlier, like, they're not gonna ta a consumer's not gonna take what you give them and make money with it, right?
so take a look at this for our industry. You know who consumers are? The newbie.
Sellers. Oh, okay. Sure.
No. So the newbie wholesaler.
Yeah, yeah.
How hard is it for you to sell a newbie wholesaler on
Uh,
your software
I stay
versus
I stay
somebody who's
away from that.
making 100 grand a month that needs a CRM to scale their business even farther?
So much harder.
Right?
So much
Because if
harder.
I'm making 100 G's and John, I need a software and here's my pitch, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, John, that's $300 a month or $249 a month or whatever it is. I'm going to be like, okay, that's $250 a month. I make 100,000 a month. Like my margins are still good. F it. But that newbie's like, oh man, like I don't know. That's a lot of money. Do you have a lower plan? What am I
Mhm.
getting for this? Like, how much support am I getting?
Mhm.
Like,
They're the
if
ones
I
that
call
ask all
you,
those questions, yeah.
yeah, when I'm looking for something to scale my business, I'm not like, I'm just like, looks cool. Let's try it out. If I'm
Mhm.
wrong, like, fuck it. It's $1,000 or whatever. I sign up for an annual plan. It's 2 grand. I'm wrong. I'll cancel it and I'll move on. It's the easiest
Mhm.
sale.
Mhm.
So when I
Totally.
realized that, I was like, I got to do something different.
Mhm.
So I thought that was an interesting post when he said that, and he himself got into a whole different industry too with recurring monthly cash flow.
Recurring model what? You broke up there.
Monthly cash flow,
Oh,
recurring
okay,
cash
just
flow
monthly.
monthly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. So, I am working on the next feature here at InvestorFuse,
What are you
and
working on?
we're working on our offers and contracts refactor. So, gonna bring in DocuSign natively, so nobody will have to sign up for FormStack and DocuSign. But also bringing in the feature that we discussed a long time ago, evaluations. So I'm curious. We haven't talked about it in a long time. Of what's your wish list in an evaluation section of the InvestorFuse app, so that you could type
What
in
my
a property and then run and say, okay, what's it creatively? What's it all cash? What's it whatever? What's your wish list for an area like that?
Wow, dude. It gets a little complex, but when you start adding creative in, but I mean, ideally, I mean, are we talking tech speak here, or do you just want me to tell you? Are we doing like a tech
Just
like
tell me.
detail? Well, I mean, like you want to be able to have you want to be able to pivot off of things. So like I need my adjustable repair values. Like I need to be able
Mhm.
to adjust those, not just a flat rate, and I need to do it based on either a total dollar, like a lump sum, or based on square footage. I mean, John, you and I have gone over this. Like I have a whole calculator I had my guy build out for me
I know you have it in Excel, right?
in G Sheet. I can send you.
Yeah.
Um, and then I need a rental calculator that runs through, so that I got one right, and then so the repairs, and then there's two different ways you could do it, which is percent of ARV, which everyone does, but I want to adjust the percentages of ARV,
Hmm.
and then a total dollar, as in like somebody only needs to make X amount of money. I want that built into there. And then a rental calculator. One of them I want 1%, 2% as to tell me if I should go any further. Of like, here's the minimum, like if it needs to meet this threshold to even take it any further. And then if it meets the 1%, because the 1% is the worst rule ever. If anyone wants to sit here and say, "Oh, Brandon, 1% is bullshit," it is bullshit, but it's a barometer because if it doesn't even meet the 1%, odds are I can't negotiate them. If it's the 1%, I can negotiate to 2%. The two
Right.
percent is if it's a 2%, like take it. That's a great deal in most markets. But then I want to be able to actually do real numbers on my rental stuff. I want to account for vacancy rate, expenses. You know, I want to see what my real cash, my free cash flow is at the end of it. So something like that, because that's how people buy, is based on the cash flow it's going to produce. And then obviously the novation calculator.
Mm-hmm.
You know, definitely want to see novation. You could do like a quick novation and a detailed novation. Quick novation would be a percentages off the top minus by fee, not too different than the percent of ARV. So just percent of ARV or as is value.
Yeah.
And then the detailed one that takes into account ARV minus repairs equals as is minus like what my closing costs, my commissions, all of it totally adjustable. I have a calculator you could use too for that I had made. And you know, I'm not the guy to talk to for sub 2 or any of those creative. You know, I'm not a fan of those. I don't want to touch those. So I was gonna get sidetracked, but
do you see it being an interesting feature for this, that you, Brandon, could say, hey John, I built this amazing novations calculator, here's a URL, just paste this into your browser and you can have that evaluation in your system?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's already a website that does this, right? I forget the name.
But it's not inside of your IF3.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've always wanted. You and I talked about it. It's like, I just need a tab where my guys could go over. It just punches in. They just punch in a number and it's saved there. And then they can even hit the save button.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going to have to talk to InvestorFuse, because now you guys are stealing all my ideas. I'm definitely going to need to, I need this to say at the very bottom, produced by LTRE and Brandon Pedersen. But we need like a trademark symbol down there. But yeah, because my guys, it's like, I'm not saying I need it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, especially in like when you could get greedy. I really need to be put into check of like what the real numbers say, not just what I want.
Right.
But
yeah.
It's a lot easier for VAs. Like I've done both routes, really training my people on repair values, really training my people on the numbers, but there's still a factor of doubt of when they start fudging things to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And you would want an anti-fudge factor in your calculation where like there's minimums and maximums, and if someone does it, there needs to be like a little red word. Is this really true? Question mark. Is that really what you want? Do you really think there's only 8K repairs? Question mark. You know, that's where the AI could come in.
Yeah.
The chatbot pops up and is like,
no.
Hey, Brandon, is there really only 5K worth of repairs on this 1920s wood frame house? Does that seem right to you? My AI model says that's not right. Please double check your numbers. But
that would be pretty funny.
I could see stuff like that. That would be really helpful to have in there, and just have a little tab where I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Just wanted to get some initial thoughts there. We're gonna kick it off next week. So
I made a statement. I'm gonna go back on what I was about to get sidetracked on.
Sub 2.
So the sub 2 thing, it is funny. I made this post about creative finance on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I ragged on sub 2. Okay. Again, I think it's a great strategy. It's an advanced strategy meant for people to find it for the right deal, to help out the right person. Stop using it as in every type of, it's the guy who responded, and it's bullshit, dude. And he's like, well, if it's not this, then it's this, and it's this, and it's this, and it could be a sub 2. And it's like, bruh. Like sub 2 is not your answer for everything. Mm-hmm. It's really not, especially in this market. Buying with negative equity never makes sense. Right. So I made a comment to that. Mm-hmm. It was hilarious. So I may not know everybody who follows me on Instagram, and I don't have a huge following, but I know my regulars. I know how much business a lot of them do because I know them personally. And then I know the people who ask me a shit ton of newbie questions all the time. Mm-hmm. The people that agreed with me and was like, oh my God, yeah, like I don't do sub 2. There's going to be a lot of legal kickback. I only do it in this scenario, or I buy 1 or 2 if these numbers, and we're DMing, and you could tell the people that make money
Or like, no.
versus the ones that don't.
Yeah.
Because the ones that are new, they're like, how could you say that? If it's not sub 2, then you could try a short sale if you don't want to do negative equity. And then if that doesn't work, you should try a wrap. And it's
Oh
like,
my God.
shut the fuck up.
Uh-huh. That's
And
because
that's what it was.
they just don't have the
They
know-how,
don't
but they're also
they don't
competing with
know.
all these people that are making money on the real deals, and they're
And
like, I
so they're
don't want to
like,
put in the equity, the sweat equity to do that. What's
yeah,
the easy way out? What's the easy way for me to be a real estate investor?
it's not just that, John, but it's like by the time I spend trying to sort out with this one seller
Yeah.
a negative equity sub 2, a short sale, buying it on long term with a wrap around it and all kinds of shit, I could have just went and done 2 or 3 other deals.
Exactly.
And that's the concept that like the bigger guys understand. Like, yes, it's a great tool,
But it's one
but
tool.
it's
Not
one
the
tool.
only tool.
My job is to make money with these other guys that they're trying to turn. Maybe I said it wrong. People who make money understand that sometimes no deal is better than a deal.
Yeah.
And the people with no money who are just desperate try to make everything a deal. And so the comments I was getting only further prove that like a lot of these creative people, they're just so desperate to make one phone call into something.
Yeah.
Whereas the people that are raking in 6 figures a month, they're just weeding people out to get to the ones that fit their buy box. And they're not wasting time on everything else. That is what I was chuckling about. So because I saw that through the commenting, and I was trying to be nice to people, and I was just like, yeah, dude, like, that's definitely an option. Like,
I feel like if there was, and this is something I've always dreamed of, like creating some kind of report, like of real data, collaborative real data that showed people in order to get to an average deal value of 10K, you should be like the ratio of like debt or just like how many leads come in versus one that turns. Like you got to talk to 20 people in order to get to this one for this kind of marketing. And if you want to, for cold calling, you got to talk to 40 people to get to one.
yeah.
And just some kind of like,
It really depends
here
on the
newbies, do this, like just follow these KPIs. And, this is what the successful people are doing. I do think there's, a
But the
little
problem
bit
is,
of a bridge.
the problem is you don't know what deal is the good one, and that's what they think. Just because somebody says yes on the phone. So I've done training for investor shoes before, and I always broke it down to the 4 pillars of a sale, right? Pain, ability, motivation, then price, right? Price is the last one. First one is I need pain. I need some type of something that then is going to give them the motivation to sell. But then 3, they have to have the ability to sell. And what does ability mean? It means they need to be in a situation with equity in their home. Nope. Negative equity is never an ability. It is it equals not ability.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem. Is people aren't running through their pillars and they're like, oh, the guy's motivated. There's pain because he's back due on his mortgage. Let's do this. And he says, yes, that's ability. Yes is not an ability. Ability is you got to run through. Is he the actual signer? Does he actually own the property? Is the mortgage capable of being, you know what I mean? Like all this stuff. Is there equity in the deal? Like that's ability.
Yeah.
And they don't do that.
No.
And so they're just desperate for these things.
Yeah.
And those are just pitfalls to avoid. And that was a lot of the comments I got from other people. Instead of going deep into it, like some guys just responded, sometimes no deal is better than a deal. And people were like, they got to know when to say no. Can't help everybody. Like I was getting these one-liners from people, and it's just like you could tell who makes money and who doesn't by responses to things.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what it's going to take to fix that. I mean, maybe the market continuing to go bad. I mean, we talked about this with A2P, right? Like, and I think I talked to other people about this too, who had the same sentiment that you did. Like, we've ruined something good. Like this industry has ruined something good because we,
That's what humans
we
do.
keep going until like it's impossible not to. And that's what texting is now. It's impossible to continue doing what we were doing.
We're the modern day conqueror where we
Mhm.
rape and pillage whatever we come across.
Mhm.
And like if it's texting, we raped and pillaged that fucking communication tool. If it's wholesaling, we did the same thing. If it's sub 2, we do the same thing. It doesn't matter. We come in and the first people are so nice about it. And they come into this new village and like, hey everyone, like we're here. And we're like, oh my God. And then the next wave of people get more crazy. And then finally, like everyone's like, oh my God, there's only so much left. And next thing you know,
It's gone.
you're destroying what was once awesome.
And that's the thing is like I'm sure with sub 2, they're like as people are predicting more and more now, like there will be some legal ramifications coming down of like
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know what that looks like, but I'm sure it's going to happen because
Well, yeah.
it's not. There are people doing it that should not be doing it. Ultimately,
I
That's
would
what
love to see. So it's not in the bank's best interest to foreclose on a home.
Right.
Having worked in the foreclosure industry, banks are messy.
Mhm.
They don't really want homes. They don't know how to deal with them. And generally, it's not the bank that does it. The bank hires a servicing company who then hires vendors and agents, and then they rely on the vendors and agents to relay information and so on and so on. And so there's this chain. So for the banks, it's not like the banks are selling it. They pay somebody who then pays somebody. They get advice from somebody who then gets advice from somebody. So and these houses could sit for a while they do that. And it relies on people like me and contractors like Joe Schmo, and it's like, if I tell you the truth, or maybe I just want your business because I don't give a shit about you, so I lie to
Right.
you about this, or the vendors give you higher quotes, and the banks just say yes because we see dollar signs from them. So for the banks, it's not always a win-win to foreclose, even with the sub 2. So I don't see them just calling in these sub 2s.
Mhm.
I see the issue of when somebody who bought a home sub 2 but doesn't have the cash flow and a roof or an AC goes bad. And once the property starts getting vacant or there's issues and you don't have the cash flow to keep that mortgage payment, John, if it's between you and your family's house that you live in and your car payment and feeding your kids versus paying for this sub 2 mortgage, you have enough money to pay one mortgage because the tenant left
Yeah.
and you can't refill it because there's a leak and you don't have the money to fix that leak.
Mhm.
And I know it's an extreme example, but I've seen it. So
Yeah.
what do you
No,
do?
I'm
Well,
sure it happens.
you pay your mortgage and you say, that's not my problem. And so then, yeah, there's legal paperwork that then the seller could come after you, right? Like the original owner and all that. But I was told by a lawyer once when I thought to sue somebody, and he said, that's fine, but it takes money to do it.
Mhm.
And usually the only people that make money in these things are the attorney. Is this really what you want to do?
Right.
Luckily,
Yeah.
we have an
Yeah.
attorney in the family, so I get some good advice. And it was like, yeah. So they could go after you. And then it comes down, could you settle for cheaper? Do you really want to spend $5,000 to go after this? Like, do you have that money to put down on a retainer? It could grow to 15, 20.
I mean, you're talking the seller doing this, right? Yeah.
How
Like
many sellers who sub-2 their house have enough money to legally
No.
come after you? Yeah, exactly.
Very small percentage. Very small.
So I could see some stuff like that happening.
Maybe Peace Morby will have a class action
Bro,
lawsuit
I
that's
heard-
filed against him by
I-
everybody that's been burned for sub 2.
I heard, and again, I don't know how true it is, but I heard how much money he made from sub 2 last year, and that he
The
has
selling the courses or the
Yeah.
actual properties. Okay, yeah.
selling the courses. Someone who knows him, and I was like, yeah, he's passed beyond the point. And I don't personally know Pace, so I can't speak to it. When you make that much money, you're beyond the point of giving a shit. And I heard he has his own team to handle lawsuits. Yeah,
I'm sure. My cuckoo clock's going way off time, but it's okay. Hey, we've come to the end of our time. And so yeah, we'll see with what happens with sub 2. Carlos, sorry you can join us today, but next week's Thanksgiving. I don't even know what day we're doing our episode. We'll
do a pre-record. I'll be here. I'll be here.
Cool.
But anyway, I gotta get going, dude. I am heading up to Penn State for a college campus tour with my
Enjoy
daughter.
that.
So,
Put some warm clothes on.
I am. I'm gonna have to.
Florida.
All right. It was a good talk, though. We covered a lot. Good luck with your AI endeavors.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
And let me know when you need my logo for the trademark for Let's Talk
Absolutely,
Real
just a
Estate.
giant watermark across the
Just
whole
a
thing.
giant watermark. That'd be super sweet. But all right, man.
Yeah, have a good one.
Lock and load.